Hello everyone. Let's start with today's session, which is on SDLC, Software Development Life Cycle. What is SDLC? We follow some set of steps so that a software can be delivered successfully. So we have to follow some predefined steps in a particular manner. This is called SDLC. Now we'll talk about each step in detail and we'll understand how can a software be built, tested, delivered successfully using this life cycle, software development life cycle. Now, the first phase of SDLC is requirement gathering and planning of that requirement. After that, the second phase is about analyzing those requirements and then designing those requirements. What is the designing of requirement? It means you have to convert those requirements into proper documentation to be distributed amongst the team members so that they can start working upon it. Then there is coding or implementation, and then there is testing. Testing is where we lie, the QA team, and finally there is maintenance. So we'll understand each phase properly in this class, starting from requirement gathering and planning. So this is a very important phase. Seems very trivial, but actually the most important phase, because you have to gather all the requirements properly and exactly as per the client wants. If there is a deviation from his expectation, the final product will not be the same. So to understand this, let's take a quick example. Let's imagine somebody wanted to design a bicycle. Bicycle wasn't there and somebody wanted to develop it. So for that, he went to a particular company and delivered his requirements. So he said that, okay, my product should have 2 wheels. He never mentioned properly maybe that the 2 wheels should be of the same size. And this question was also not asked. So something like this came into picture. Then he said there should be one handle for it to, so this handle was put in the middle maybe. Okay. So like this and this. So this is the handle. This should be a seat. So that was the next requirement. And maybe the seat was somewhere near to the first wheel. Okay, fine. Then there should be paddles. That was yet another requirement set. So paddles probably were put behind the second, wheel. So let's say these are paddles. Here we go. So this doesn't at all look like a bicycle because the requirements were gathered but not with proper questions and the vision was not properly understood and explained. So the whole concept is about having a set of requirements. The requirements needs to be properly explained and questions should be asked from the team so that the vision is understood well and the end product is matching the requirements. So that's about the first phase. Then those requirements are analyzed so that we do proper planning about the whole development of the project. So analysis of those proper requirements. Then there is design phase. In the design phase, all these requirements are properly converted into documentation. This documentation can be flowcharts. This can be business requirement documentation, BRDs. This can be software requirement specification, SRS, or it can be FSD, functional requirement documentation. So there are different sets of documentations which are created as a part of this design phase, and these documentations are circulated amongst the team members so that they can actually start working on these documentation. After the designing of the documentation and all the planning is done, the actual coding phase come into picture. So we'll learn about this coding and understand about this coding through a diagram. But let's move forward with the further topics and pointers so that we can just complete the flow and then understand. So coding is where actual coding happens and implementation happen, and a running software is created out of the plan. So whatever was planned is actually a running software now. So people can use it, and the business flow which was decided is actually working flow now. Now once the coding is done, then we QAs come into picture, we do testing. So there are different phases of testing also, like there are different steps to testing also, so which will be SDLC. We'll talk about SDLC in the next session, but for now you understand in the testing phase there are sub phases, so that the testing process is also finished in a successful manner. So after coding, then there is testing, and then after testing we deploy. Deployment is moving the code from one server to another server. We'll understand deployment in detail also. So the code is deployed from one server to another server, and then there is maintenance. What is maintenance? Maintenance is a contractual negotiation between the client and the company. This contract can be of 1 month, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. It depends. And what happens in that maintenance phase? There are different criteria. Let's say there is some production issue. There's something which broke in the production. This is not an ideal case scenario, but still there can be issues in the production. So this company will have to support them. Will have to rectify it, reinstall it, test it, reinstall it, and that support have to be there. So that's one of the parts of maintenance activity. Then there can be issues like client wants a minor trivial change in the software. If this change is very small and minor, which can be fitted inside this contract, then they do it as a part of the maintenance. But if there is a big change required, then it is termed as CR, change request, and it's worked upon. And then all the processes are followed in the coding and the SDLC, and then it's deployed again and so on. So that can be another scenario of the maintenance phase. Then there can be support required from the testing team in terms of test cases. The client can ask for test cases from the testing team and can ask for test scenarios. So the testing team helps, and accordingly the maintenance goes on after the production deployment. Now let's understand the organizational structure, so that you get an idea who works on what in the entire SDLC process. I have drawn a small diagram for that. So here you go. So we have a CTO, Chief Technical Officer, in the team, under whom there are project managers. The project manager manages one or multiple projects in the team. Then there is product owner. This guy owns one or more products in the team. So let's say this CTO, the project manager, so let's say the project manager is managing 3 projects in the team. So there are different clients. So let's say Amazon is one client, Facebook is another client. So this project manager is handling both Amazon and Facebook and one more project, 3 projects. The product owner is a person who owns one or more products. So let's say in the Amazon.com and the Amazon application, these 2 products are being handled by this product owner guy. So there can be one or more products in any project going on, and the product owner owns one or more products. Then the business analyst guy is a person who is bringing in business and requirements from the clients. So he's responsible for writing all the acceptance criteria for the project and properly documenting, creating good documentation in the team, and also circulating it amongst the team member and setting the goals for the sprint or any SDLC models which are being followed. He'll bring in business and gather the requirements. After that, there are developers. There can be one developer lead or technical architect, developers and junior developers in the team. So multiple developers. Then there is UI UX designers. There can be one or many in the team. Then there are QA. So there can be a QA lead, and then testers, manual tester, automation tester, ETL tester. So there can be different kinds of QA in the team. And then there is also a network and security configuration IT team, who will be actually responsible for all the hardware and networking setup for the entire project going on. So this is the organizational setup and the chronology which you have to understand. And once you know this, let's understand the developer's point of view, which I said, the implementation and coding. So taking an example of an e-commerce project, let's say Amazon, there are different pages. There's login, there's registration first, and then login, then home, cart, payment, order, all these pages. So imagine that this login is being created by the developer 1 guy, and registration is being created by the developer 1 again, and home page is being developed by developer 2 guy. And card by developer 3, and so on. So different developers will be working on their each module, and they will do unit testing on their own modules, and then they'll integrate it together and send it to the QA team for testing. So we'll learn about the deployment process in a different session, but for now you have to just understand the organizational flow, how the developers work on their different modules, they do unit testing on their individual modules, and then the SDLC, we'll learn about this further about this in the SDLC model in the next session. So this is about it. So clearly today we understood how requirement is gathered, how important is requirement gathering. We learned that yes, we need to analyze those requirements and do a proper planning, and then convert those into design documentations, and that is circulated, and everybody understands their responsibilities. Then there is coding which happens, and after the coding is complete, we have to test. So it's not like complete coding has to be complete. There is a process. So there are different SDLC models based on which we follow how to test and when to test. We learn about models also. So here we have to understand, if it is a waterfall model, we have to wait till the end, the entire product is ready, and then we start testing. But usually in Agile, we test parallelly. There are activities, we learn about Agile too. So accordingly, testing starts. Testing has its own phases, which is SDLC, and then there is maintenance, deployment, and then maintenance. So this is SDLC, guys. So we'll stop it here. In the next session, we'll learn about SDLC, software testing lifecycle, and then we'll see a comparison between SDLC and SDLC. Thank you.